couple things come to mind. Um, Peter said, Jesus, to whom else can we turn? For only you have the words of eternal life. We really don't have any better options. And Lord knows we have tried some of those other options, sadly. But then, oh gosh, I was going to follow that up with something. Uh, oh, I know. Let's just talk turkey here for a little bit. Talk reality. Um, there are some physical challenges in our group, different ones with physical challenges, and people we prayed for who have either got more sick or, as in Jerry's case, Cindy passed away. And so we've had some challenging projects that haven't yielded the dividends that we were anticipating. And so maybe we could talk about this a little bit, or maybe this isn't a subject for today. Maybe it's something that we can seek the Lord together about. And that is, here's an idea. My feeling is that as we change modality, in other words, change the way that we are engaging our hearts and spirit man with the kingdom purposes in our lives. Instead of praying from here, we've kind of learned the ropes from Pentecostalism and charismatic, and we've kind of learned those ropes. And so we had a certain measure of success, certain measure that we'd kind of grown accustomed to and somewhat satisfied with. We always knew there was more, but now we're in transition, changing the very way we approach the heavenly matters, the heavenly realms, and the way we approach projects or kingdom missions. And so we're having to, first of all, establish theology, scriptural precedent that gives us firm footing. We're having to develop vocabulary. How do I speak from the new perspective? And then we're having to establish another kind of faith, a different kind of faith. It's still faith, but it's faith that comes from moving in a new modality. And whereas in the past we had a faith like, okay, if we do the four spiritual laws, if we do the 12-step healing method or whatever it is, and we kind of had a faith in that modality. But now over in the unseen realm, the heavenly reality, we're having to develop faith positions of faith, or a building of faith inside of us. Now, I say all that to say that it seems like it would be probably reasonable to expect that there's going to be some, imagine a line here on a graph. And as we go through transition, there might be a little dip as we're coming to terms with how do we do it the new way. But just this morning, I was listening to a quote from Rick Joyner. And I can't quote it exactly because I don't have it in front of me, but it was something like, for those who are gripped with passion, ooh, this is kind of getting me, it's kind of surprised me. Those who are gripped with a passion and hunger and do not give up, but rather press on into these heavenly territories, God saying through Rick, God saying, I will give an authority that has never been seen upon mankind. I'll give an authority in the Spirit, and a fruitfulness has never been seen before in mankind. Now, I happen to believe that in concept. I don't know if I've seen it with my eyes yet, certainly not yet in my own life, but have I seen it in other people's lives? So, like I said, let's talk real here. I think we all believe in the direction that we're going. I believe our hearts are committed, and we have some measures of reality in us that are gripping and real and permanent. In the meantime, we're still working with moving through this transitionary dip, you might say. What I'm doing is kind of taking note of various maybe things that we should either look for or expect that will be key ingredients. So here we want to bake a cake, right? We want to make a cake. We got to get the mixing bowl out and we got to get the ingredients out and put the ingredients in. Now, I don't want to analyze this thing to death, but at the same time, I do want to have some sense of what I'm reaching for in order to know, what to lean into. And so I'm just starting, first of all, I need some rhema or keys, new rhema, and new keys that are commensurate or fitting for the new modality. I need keys. So these are not just theological keys. They probably are going to be found in the Bible, but they're like new rhema from heaven that establishes you. Okay, next one is, and these are not necessarily in order of importance, but next one I wrote down was, I got to stay in the exercise mode. I have to continue to flex, test, try, check it out, move into it, see if this works. Now I want to be careful while I'm doing that I'm not overstating God. In other words, I heard the Lord say, unless I really did hear the Lord say. Because when I'm in test mode or exercise mode, I want to say something more along the line, especially if it's with other people. I want to say something like, well, could we try this? Or what do you say we check this out? So I'd like to not, well, in the end, I want to make God look better. And I realize that's a dumb thing to say because, a kid that dirties his diapers, is he going to make his daddy look better by not dirtying his diaper? No, that's just the way it works, Anyway, I understand. I don't need to preach a sermon on that one. Only speak what he's speaking. That's a big one for me. Only speak what he's speaking. In other words, if I take modalities from the past, well, if I quote these verses and I say in Jesus' name, and I get 4 people to agree with me, that's more than one, so we're more, 2 or 3 or more gathered. So, if I get my modalities all in order, no, it's really whatever he says. At least to me, that's really important right now. Here's another one. Employing, as, who was it that just said this? Jenny. Employing light. And that one, I think, is going to be probably one of the bigger stretches for us because it's not been in any of our past modalities of moving in the spirit realm. And so how does that even work? I mean, and honestly, I'll have to say, I know very little, except that I'm pretty sure it doesn't come from my head. It's got to come from my belly or spirit, wherever you find your spirit, man. I think it has to come from there. But I can't say that really authoritatively, except it just seems to reason that you can't project light from your brain. Now, I don't know. I might be wrong, but I do believe we can project light from our spirit. And so how do I engage my spirit, and how do I speak with faith in the form of light? And how do I engage my spirit man to actually release that light? Those to me are brand new frontiers. Those are frontiers that I know almost zero about. I've had 1 or 2 little experiences, but I don't even know hardly how they happened. They just happened. I know that I should probably continue to flex my muscle and exercise that direction, but I'd have to say I don't know the steps 1, 2, and 3, or the math or the equation that makes that work. Now, maybe that I should never think like that. That sounds pretty crass when it comes to spiritual matters. One more thing is, it's probably going to be different for each one of us. So there's going to be a uniqueness that we actually engage so that it works for us, and it may not be the exact same functionality in the next person. So then we're going to have to give each other a lot of latitude to find the way into that. So there's what, 6 different um, ways or things to hold up in front of me as I'm reaching into that new frontier. So I don't know. There's probably a dozen more, or maybe that's too many. I don't know. But Mary, you're up next.